Okay, well, welcome back now to track 2. The more information and knowledge that I have to share with you, the greater your power to change yourself within, in the emotions and the mind, and in that process create a more joyous and wondrous reality for yourself. You have great power inside of yourself in spiritual resources which are as yet untapped. As we move a little deeper into self-punishment, with our expanded consciousness, we're able to get a better idea of why we adhere to these patterns of emotions. We witnessed our parents punishing each other and punishing us, so the psychological templates are laid in our developing subconscious mind. That's the psychology that is behind our self-punishment. Another reason why we go on punishing ourselves is because of the nobility of struggle. The nobility of struggle, sacrifice, and suffering. It's a part of our heritage from the Judeo-Christian ethic to suffer and sacrifice. Society therefore regards suffering as noble. We try to disguise it under the title of willpower, determination, etc., but it all boils down to struggle, sacrifice, and suffering. The next reason that we punish ourselves is that we don't accept that we have an ego that has turned negative. A part of our personality that's supposed to just deliver to our conscious mind that which it observes. However, in your refusal to interpret the meaning of those observations, you gave that power away to your ego, which then turns negative, which now has the goal of destroying you to maintain its control over you. If you don't know how to deal with your negative ego, you turn to self-punishment. Your negative ego, in its totality, is simply all your blockages heaped together in one group thought form. But you were the creator of that living thought form. It lives in your aura, seeking opportunity to express life as an event in time and space. This is what your negative ego is, an advanced elemental life expressing itself through a group thought form. These are simply clusters of thoughts by you which are of an homogeneous nature. You are the one in charge. Knowledge leading to understanding strengthens your will and expands your power, strength, and talent. The alternative to busting your negative ego is to go on with punishing yourself. Another reason why we adhere to the habit pattern of self-punishment is that as human beings, we have a powerful need to know and understand ourselves. We've become much more complex over the last 2 centuries than our earlier city life. We need to know about our complexity. Life is the conscious moment-by-moment choice of who you choose to be, in relationship to all the rest of it, masquerading as not self. The whole human kingdom has become a vast network of knowledge which has been expanding consciousness exponentially over the last 50 years. Our desire to know ourselves and our complexities becomes the motivating factor. It's a basic human urge to know yourself and understand yourself. We have a desire to not only know ourselves but to be known by significant others. There are only 2 ways that you can know yourself or be known. The first way is through love, the second is through pain. The desire to know yourself is so strong that if you refuse to love or be loved, you'll resort to inflicting pain upon yourself via others or through inflicting pain upon yourself. Either way, it amounts to self-punishment. Many alliances are formed between people that are based on mutual infliction of pain upon each other. When the relationship finally breaks up, they both experience a sense of loss, because in their pain they knew each other, and each one felt known. These are basic drives of the personality. You won't be able to hold them back. The desire to know yourself and be known by another is so strong that the infliction of pain will be chosen if it cannot be achieved through love. I'll keep on drawing your attention from time to time to the grand duality that makes our lives so eventful in terms of experience of events, each of which is impactful on the consciousness. That great duality is love or fear. Everything evolves from derivatives of each of these. But again, I'll keep on drawing to your attention that you do have a choice. When we're involved in relationship with someone who inflicts pain upon us, we keep coming back to that relationship, or else we find another who will go on inflicting the pain. Why? Because we don't know how to love, but we do need to feel our feelings. Feelings, when it all boils down to it, either stem from love or they stem from its polar opposite, which is fear. Our fear of pain and the infliction of the pain upon ourselves via significant others or upon ourselves allows us to know that we are real through our feelings. We all need to be loved and wanted. However, we refuse to receive love from significant others because we don't regard ourselves as being worthy of love. We don't see ourselves as being lovable. We refuse to love ourselves because it too is frowned upon by society. Society encourages us to love and to be loved, but not to love ourselves. If we don't think we are lovable, then we can't love ourselves, and we will not allow the love in from others. We block that love because we think that we don't deserve love. We need to feel, however, so we fall back on pain inflicted by another or upon ourselves. The Church and both the politically right and left regard self-love as a dangerous idea, because if we love ourselves, we'll have less need for their doctrines and less motivation to give donations. The logic is that if everyone loved themselves, we'd have less chance of making them feel guilty in the case of the religions of the world. The logic in the political arena is that if they loved themselves, society would cease giving political donations and they would not be motivated to go to war if they all loved themselves. The Church encourages us to love others and to express that love through suffering, to deny yourself in order to love others. Therein is a basic motivation for giving donations. Always put the welfare of others before your own welfare. Sacrifice and suffering and self-abnegation are deeply ingrained within the doctrine of the churches, mosques, and temples of the world. You can learn things in life and expand your awareness through the chaos, the struggle, the hardship, the sacrifice, and the pain. It's okay to learn more about yourself from that fear and pain, but you can learn so much more about yourself from the joy and the happiness and the love. You learn so much more about yourself through your laughter, joy and happiness, and through the love and wonder than you have ever done through your pain. Keep bearing in mind as much as possible, in your peripheral awareness at least, the fact that you are a consciousness. Your life was given to you by your Creator. You can never, ever die. It's time to realize and recognize that we do have options to know ourselves through self-love. This is where you need to dissect the process and identify clearly the function that self-punishment fulfills. To understand that you do it to know yourself, a basic human urge, and you do it to avoid punishment from others. That makes sense. But you also do it because you don't know how to love yourself, and inflicting pain is a way whereby you can feel and express your feelings. Why? To know that you're alive and not just dreaming. Another way that we punish ourselves is through the denial of fun, self-denial in the enjoyment of life. You might call it being realistic and state that life is struggle, worry, hardship and pain. Another way of engaging self-punishment is by denial of success. You might come right up to the brink of success only to sabotage yourself just prior to the finish line. As you progress on the spiritual path, your tests become more subtle. You further punish yourself by not allowing change to occur. Change of habit patterns of behaviour is the fourth step of processing, remember? But to further punish yourself, you refuse to change. So wrapping up again on the process that you follow to punish yourself, it's through the denial of love, the denial of fun, the denial of success, denial of conscious reality creation, and denial of change within yourself. Other ways of punishing ourselves is by humiliation and rejection of self before a significant other has a chance to humiliate us or reject us. The subconscious justification for humiliation of self is to remove the tension and suspense of not knowing when we're going to be humiliated by another. At least by humiliating ourselves, we can control the timing of the pain associated with the humiliation. We reason that even if we are humiliated or rejected by another, if we have first rejected and humiliated ourselves, the impact upon our consciousness of that later rejection won't be so powerful. So some of us punish ourselves through humiliation and rejection of self. Another way that many of us punish ourselves is through bodily illness and pain. Hips that are out of whack, knees that are filled with arthritis, backs that constantly ache, cramps, indigestion, and constipation. We could go through every part of the body to find ailments that fulfill that specific function of inflicting pain upon ourselves. So many in the human family are masochists. We tend to not think of it as self-punishment. We justify our pain as just a slipped disc, or my hiatus hernia, or my stomach ulcer, or my heartburn, or my reflux, or my arthritis, or my kidney stones, or bladder malfunction. We justify it in a variety of ways, but refuse to see it as our way of inflicting pain upon ourselves, our way of punishing ourselves. Others of us will inflict pain upon ourselves emotionally by finding someone who will continually drag down our image of self. Many enter relationships with women who hate men and vice versa, just so long as they'll fulfill that function of inflicting emotional pain. We even go to the extent of marrying that person. I don't know why I'm madly in love with you. You're continually shredding me and tearing me down. Perhaps that's why you love them in the first place, because they'll fulfill the function of providing emotional pain. If a counsellor advises you to end the relationship, you say, "No, tell me how I can repair the relationship." The problem with that line of thinking is that the relationship is fulfilling the function for which it was formed in the first place, the infliction of pain. It's already precisely the way that you want it to be, subconsciously, in order to punish yourself. Marriage, however, is not the only type of relationship designed to fulfill that function. It can be achieved in our relationship with parents, workmates, friends, bosses, in-laws, and other relatives, all to fulfill the same function. Some of us do it through children who fulfill that function of providing emotional pain. Others of us inflict pain upon self through taking a job that they hate, or living in an area that is isolated and cut off from our loved ones. If you were advised to change job or residence, you'd find all kinds of reasons why you can't change. Not enough money, no other jobs available, etc. You never truly explore how you can make changes because the pain, isolation, frustration and unhappiness emotionally through your job, residence, family ties or relationships, because you enjoy and welcome the punishment. It's never truly punishment from others, it is punishment of self through others. The big problem is that unless you will allow yourself to see the illness or the pain or the bad relationship or the painful job or whatever as punishment of self, how are you going to get to the third step of processing, which is forgiveness? You can't forgive something if you deny that it exists. It's all a matter of perception. It's all a matter of which way that you perceive the events of your life and the impact that those events have upon you. Understanding your subconscious motivations is so important. Refusing to love ourselves is another way whereby we inflict pain upon ourselves through low self-esteem, bad self-image, self-pity, martyrhood, self-sabotage, struggle, deprivation, and hardship. Refusing to love yourself through the denial of your goodness, truth, and beauty. Refusing to be loved by others, thereby denying your power, strength, and talent. We also can become adept at self-ridicule, putting ourselves down all the time by calling ourselves a lowlife, scum of the earth, a bad or rotten person. Some of us will pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to be locked in a room with a counsellor who will attack us and criticise us for our antisocial ways, excesses, addictions, and self-destructive patterns of behaviour because we agree with their analysis and observation. Self-ridicule and the ridicule of self by significant others is our particular way of punishing ourselves. You seek ridicule of self and are even prepared to pay money to be ridiculed by others as your modus operandi or method of operation for self-punishment. A further way of punishing ourselves is by denying God, denying Goddess, denying the existence of a creator and designer in the universe. You are beautiful, you are loving, you are intelligent, you are powerful, you are creative, you are a piece of the divine. You are a work in progress, and the journey coming home is an eternal journey. To deny yourself a living, loving, breathing relationship with that totality of all that is, you are denying yourself in the extreme. Through agnosticism, atheism, or any other form of denial of a designer and a creator in the universe is to deny the true beauty of yourself and your true source of power, creativity, and love. This is the ultimate method of self-punishment, by avowing that God and Goddess are a fiction, are a product of a fanciful imagination, calling it logical and scientific, but it is ultimately an extreme form of self-punishment. To cut yourself off from the greatest source of love and inspiration in the universe is an extreme form of self-denial, and that is a disguise for self-punishment. Some of us in the human family can do quite nicely in this space-time rule set, this contextual field of experience that we find ourselves in, without understanding or allowing the wonder and beauty of our true spiritual nature. We may not punish ourselves, we may not ridicule ourselves, we may not deny ourselves the good things of life. We may eke out quite a comfortable existence in this reality, but how much more fulfilling could it be if we clearly understood about the gift of eternal life, the fact that we are creating it all, and the knowledge that we don't have to create it all alone. To not just put down our investigations to a list of notes in our diary, but to actually understand these truths and to give the words meaning. There is a God, there is a Goddess, who is aware of self and is aware of you, not just as a mishmash of humanity, but knows you as an individual. To believe and perceive yourself as a spiritual being with the power to create your own reality in accordance and compliance with your will, imagination, and your love. To understand that you have been granted the gift of eternal life, that you can never, ever die. You see, the problem for us with our finite minds, finite intelligence and finite consciousness and awareness, we have no conception of what infinite means. To think of a being with infinite intelligence, infinite awareness, and infinite consciousness is difficult for us to conceptualize with our finite minds. It's difficult for us to grasp how God and Goddess can be conscious of each one of us simultaneously. But God and Goddess, with their infinite consciousness, are not restricted by time or by space. To them everything is one, past, present, and future. That's another concept that's difficult for us to grasp. That divine being cares about you and every step of your spiritual growth. God and Goddess are real. You have a partnership and a relationship with them, even if it is a relationship of denial. Your life can be so much more fulfilling, joyous and wondrous, however, by tapping into that source of unconditional love. That's what life is all about. That's what your spirituality is all about. Living life in an enduring state of spiritual perception, to perceive life from a spiritual point of view. Ultimately, it's the only way to find your way to perfection at the human level, the only way to achieve mastery. Relationships are holy ground because they provide the only way for you to know yourself as a quantifiable identity. Your relationship with everything and everyone that is not self allows you to be self-conscious. You are faced with a choice of not just getting lost in the techniques and the various steps involved in metaphysical growth as a concept, but to experience the love of God and Goddess, to learn to love yourself and allow the love in from others in a variety of relationships, be they work, social or intimate, to realize that it's only through your relationship with everything that is not self that you can experience yourself as living and real. The purpose of life is to remember who you are. To remember means to put all the pieces of yourself back together again. Ultimately, that's when the punishment stops, when you wake up to the truth of your being, that you have all of the properties, all of the qualities, and all of the powers of God and Goddess inside of yourself now. Your task is to recognize that fact and unfold those powers. It's time now to allow in just enough of the light of truth about the nature of reality and your place in that reality, which truth is available through my online intensives. This will allow you to free yourself from the downward spiral of denial of self, the denial of love, the denial of success, the denial of the joy and the wonder of your spiritual heritage. It's time to let in the light of truth sufficiently to end the cycle of self-punishment. We as a humanity are expanding our consciousness, awareness and intelligence as a species exponentially. If you're not growing, reaching and stretching to become more of who you really are, you are standing still and will be left behind. There's never been a time when it has become imperative to keep up with the herd. You're in a position now that you've heard this CD, to end the self-punishment. You have let in enough of the light through this CD to be not only able to stop your self-punishment, you're in a position also to start something in that process, to start putting the pieces of yourself back together again, to remember who you really are, and in the process of remembering, to start your living, loving, breathing partnership with the divine, with God, Goddess, all that is. So ending self-punishment is not just about stopping a pattern of behaviour which is destructive to the process of remembering who you really are. It is about starting a constructive pattern of behaviour that re-establishes your living, loving, breathing relationship with God and Goddess. You are now ready to end the pain. You are ready to end the denial of love. You are ready to remember who you really are and put all the pieces of yourself back together again. It's time now for you to take a break before I take you into a beautiful meditation designed to stop the self-punishment. During the break, it's important to introspect and ascertain and acknowledge why you have punished yourself for all these years, and to also ascertain how you have punished yourself. On the next track, we'll do a beautiful meditation together.